Was in a local Home Depot because I wanted to buy one of these right here. These aren't cheap, but I got to tell you, I don't like Milwaukee. I've had a grudge towards the company for quite a while, and I'm going to explain why. And the whole premise of this video is I wanted to figure out if a company, the big guy, Milwaukee, if they know that they're making a defective product, do they talk to their returns and service department or whatever and kind of say, hey, we're selling garbage? And do these communicate, or is a company too big to where they don't communicate? And I understand some companies will build a product that is like subpar, and I'm not talking about this. This is actually a pretty good drill. By the way, we do have, I think, the best 12 volt with, DeWalt, Bosch, Milwaukee, the ones that have the changeable head comparison video on YouTube. Check it out. But I do own quite a few Milwaukee, but I buy as little as I can because I really don't like the company, even though they do make the best level. No joke. This is in my tool belt every day, but I literally buy as little of Milwaukee as I can. So I was talking to this rep, and I proceeded to tell him that I'd watched a video on VCG. That the whole video was about the guy that had taken over, like, I don't know if it was R&D or whatever, the main guy there at Milwaukee, and kind of his part that he was doing there, kind of changing the direction of Milwaukee. Went from originally DeWalt, I don't know, maybe back in the 80s or 90s, and then went to Amazon, got them up and going. And originally, you can disagree with me, but the DeWalt cordless kicked Milwaukee's butt early on. They were the go-to. If you went to any lumberyard, Milwaukee was not had to be had. And if you did find one, and I bought them, the early Milwaukee NiCad was a hot mess. Absolutely. Not these. These M12s are pretty fantastic. Between this and that Pro Crimp, that's right around $3,000. So, still buy them a little bit, but I still despise the company. So I'm talking to the rep, and I told him about watching that VCG video. Really fascinating. Vince over there, I think his name's Vince over there at VCG, did a really really good job with that video. And so I thought it was really cool how he transformed, got them going as the leading cordless tool manufacturer. And he had done one thing that was very interesting, was over the lithium batteries. If I remember, if I tell it right, every lithium battery that is sold in a toolless, cordless tool, Milwaukee gets royalties to. I mean, that's really smart. I don't hold that against Milwaukee. That's just being very, very smart. Now, I think it's ironic, and I know a lot of you Milwaukee fanboys, you're not going to agree with me, but arguably Milwaukee has some of the worst batteries. They do. So I think it's funny. I own all of them. I have no, I'm just not biased. I want the best of the best. And it is. So when I got looking at this right here, even though I own a bunch of Makita, a bunch of DeWalt, I looked at this because I don't think Makita makes this, but DeWalt does. But it's in the 20 volt, and I didn't want that. And I think you're kind of putting yourself in a corner by not going with Milwaukee, at least in the Pro Press, because there's so many heads that Milwaukee's offering. Plus, you got the third party side of it that's making heads for these. Now I know Rigid and then there's Cobalt and a couple other companies that are making it, but I think you're further off going with either probably Milwaukee and Rigid. Probably your two leading. So I was telling sorry if you hear a little bit of background noise, because my wife just got home. The dogs both love her, and so they're going to be fighting over her attention. But Milwaukee, no joke, they can make some good products, but you talk about a company that does not have ethics. Now I'm going to tell you, and I'm explaining, I think I can get you on my side, why I think they are a company without ethics. You can't tell me, after what we've learned, Milwaukee had an employee in the shipping department that was sending product to his own place. And I don't know, I forget what the number was. It's a pretty large amount. And that Milwaukee, the only reason why they found out about it is because, what was it? Somebody flagged it in the shipping department. They were verifying that those amount of products were to be shipped there. So they had an employee stealing that amount of tools, and they didn't even catch it, but yet they're selling nail guns, possibly the worst tools out there. Early on, Harbor Freight were actually better freight. And I'm talking about Harbor Freight when I was a kid. There was no Harbor Freight stores. You had a little magazine that came in there, and then you'd order, oh man, wow, $2.99 for a whole set of wrenches? Well, of course, the wrenches that came to you were complete garbage, but you only paid $2.99. So, you only paid $2.99. With Milwaukee, you were paying a premium, and you got the $2.99 wrench quality. So when I was talking to the rep and I explained this whole thing, he's like, oh man. He's like, we were so happy when the last pallet of them shipped. And I was like, what? I was like, because I always tried to work through in my head, I was like, is there a disconnect with companies when they get too big to where they can't understand if there's a defect in a product, or will it get worked through? Well, that's not the case, because we did a video a couple years down the road where we did top three. I think we did the top three tools that we had purchased across the time we've been in construction, in the bottom three, the worst three. And of course, the Milwaukee 2 nail guns, the Brad and the Finish Gen 1 nail guns were the worst of the worst. Hold on here, because I want to explain to you, this is the finest framing nail gun I've been around. We own a few of them, and yeah, you're not going to get me to say anything bad about that except for the weight, but that's, I'll put up with that. Now, I've not had to deal with a cartridge leaking down. I am aware that some of them do have that issue, but it's not like it happened on day one, and those guns were garbage. So when we were doing that video, since I'd already got rid of my Brad and my Finish nail gun, I went on to Home Depot's site to see if I could pull some images off. And lo and behold, they were still selling the Gen 1 Brad and Finish nail gun. Well, I was like, well, hold on. They probably changed something. Nope. They were still the same nail gun that we had got screwed, lost $800 on, and they were still selling the same piece of crap. Now, the reviews were horrendous. I mean, just like garbage, garbage, garbage. Here's the issue. I went on a little while later, and the reviews, somebody had went on there and manipulated them. I don't know if it was Home Depot or if it was Milwaukee. I don't know. But they had been manipulated. And so they were selling both the Gen 1 and Gen 2 at the same time. The Gen 1s should have never been sold, period. The YouTubers, shame on you. Now, I've forgiven. I mean, it means nothing to Rob from Concord Carpenter. I don't think he's that type of guy. I actually think he's probably a pretty ethical guy. He's probably a fantastic carpenter from the means of it. But you don't know how much that irritates me, because the average carpenter does not make that much money. They don't. And you're essentially, at that point, you're essentially stealing from them. Because it's not that the guns worked 50% of the time. They did not work at all. They were just hot pieces of crap. I'm trying to be nice about this. Okay, so the rep picked on me a little bit, saying that DeWalt had their issues and that Makita had their issues, and I'm like, I don't see it. I don't. You may have some guys that complain about the DeWalt guns, but at least they got 10,000 nails through it. And, they may have to bang on it, send it into service, it'll work. And the fact that they were still selling them. Why in the world Milwaukee wants that on their reputation? Why in the world did they push that last pallet of nail guns out? I don't get that. I mean, except for just not having good ethics. I don't think Milwaukee is an ethical company. I don't. Do I think they got an excellent brand? It's not as much as what it did a couple years ago. You notice you're reading the comments, you'll pick up different people say, yeah, we're having a problem with the problem here. For the most part, I think they're a pretty good tool. I do. I wish I had the nail guns here. That's it. I don't want to beat it into the ground very much more, but I was really surprised that I had a rep tell that right to my face, and now I know. Now I know. Yeah, they know when they're having problems, and they're like, screw the end consumer. This definitely ain't gonna earn me no free tools being sent to me. So it is what it is. Anyway, I need to get off here. It's a long enough video. Milwaukee sucks. You're not gonna be able to change my mind for the foreseeable future, and it is what it is. See ya.